that you still, because it's an E61 group head, you still have some unpredictability. There's no such thing as a perfect E61. There's no control once it gets here. And that's the big flaw, the inherent flaw in E61s.
This is not what I observed in my ECM Classika PID and in a VBM double bar that I added the PID myself. I made several measurements and to me it was precise, stable and predictable, but better than saying, let me show you one of my measurements. So here I left the machine heating for 2 hours and a half, more than the 1 hour and a half that Lance mentions that is sufficient for the machine to get unpredictable. Then I prepared the puck as I normally do. Now I'm gonna pull the lever and I'm consider the temperature, the starting temperature as 5 seconds after starting, so 9.3 degrees. And you will see that until the end of the extraction, the temperature will reach about 88 degrees, no less than that. And in 42 seconds, I will extract 43 grams of coffee. It's also important to say that I didn't flush the machine. It was heating for 2 hours and a half and I started right after. So didn't benefit of any effect of the flushing to go down the temperature. And the machine was set, the target temperature was set to 90 degrees. And the variation was only to between 88 and 90. And the starting temperature was about 90 degrees. So precise, stable, and predictable. So why do they say that E61s are unpredictable? One of the arguments is that this style of group has a big mass of metal that is radiating energy to the environment, and also that you have those tubes that work as a thermosyphon. So the hot water gets into the group that is cold, then the group starts to get warmer and the water gets colder, then it returns and it keeps flowing, and this keeps going until the temperature is in equilibrium. However, when you have a PID, it keeps the temperature in the boiler at your target temperature, for example 95 degrees. Then it will keep flowing the water at 95 degrees, that will cool down, return and go back, and this thermal mass here will be in equilibrium but at 95 degrees. And I think the origin of this confusion is the heat exchanger, because how the heat exchange works. Let me show another picture that I think it's more clear. So in a heat exchanger, you have a big boiler for steaming and you have a pressure stat monitoring the pressure in the boiler. So the pressure stat is monitoring the pressure as an indirect measure of temperature, and it is as imprecise as a thermostat. But even if you have a PID, the PID is keeping this boiler pretty hot because you need to have steam, and inside the steam boiler you have a small boiler or a smaller boiler for brewing, and this water here will get in equilibrium with the steam boiler, and this is going to get super hot, and then this water that is going to flow into the group will also be super hot, and the group will be super hot. So when Lance says that if you keep it heating for an hour and a half, all the system will be super hot. And then when you try to flush some water, okay, the cold water flowing into this boiler will bring this temperature down, and then you will also push the water through the system and everything will cool down. But then this big mass of metal will become a little bit colder, but you will have to flush a lot of water to reach a temperature that it's stable here and in equilibrium with the water that is flowing inside the group. So my understanding is that when Lance is seeing that roller coaster of temperature in that heat exchanger, it is because of the nature of the heat exchangers that keeps this temperature super high here. But if you have a single boiler or a dual boiler with a PID, the temperature in one single boiler or the boiler dedicated to brewing will be at, let's say, 95, and then the temperature here will be stable at 95. In reality, it's going to be a bit low than here, but then the PIDs will compensate. So when we measure the temperature here in the puck, we are trying to understand what is the temperature in the puck, and then we make this compensation. We adjust the offset to reach the target temperature in the puck and not in the boiler. Then when you have the PID adjusted for 90 degrees here, probably it's around 100 or 105 inside the boiler. Okay, all right, but then you have a heat exchanger. What do you do? I didn't test that, okay? I'm trusting that the measures from Lance are correct. It's recommended to install the thermometer in the group so that you know at least the temperature that is flowing here, and you can kind of surf the temperature in your E61 heat exchanger. Before extracting, you need to flush and then you bring the temperature to at least the starting point to be the desired temperature. It may heat up a bit later, but the expectation is that it doesn't increase too much. But if you have a single boiler or a dual boiler with a PID, don't worry about this unpredictability. The temperature is predictable, is precise, and is stable, as I showed you. And I think that's it. I just wanted to clarify. But if there's anyone who has other evidences that an E61 machine with PID is also unpredictable, please put in the comments. Or maybe a mechanical engineer with more knowledge on fluid dynamics and thermodynamics can add to the topic. So if you are that perfectionist that wants a precise and stable temperature for your perfect shot, you will have with a single or dual boiler. And if you have a heat exchanger and you don't need that perfect shot, but if you need a machine that can deliver several lattes and espressos in sequence without having to wait that much between one and another beverage, because the steam boiler is ready to steam and the brew boiler is ready to brew, then the heat exchanger works perfectly well. I just think that it's recommended to have the thermometer in your group so that you have an idea of the temperature that will be delivered to your puck, and if needed you can flush. Several friends of mine do this, and they tell me that they get very good shots. So maybe just a matter of practicing.